As South Africa's political climate changes and uncertainty lingers, investment experts at the Ellen Gray Summit in Johannesburg say the country has a sea of opportunities that can grow the economy.
So if you look at South Africa's economic environment, obviously it's been challenging. The economic growth is not what we would ideally want. Over the last couple of years, we've averaged less than 1%. This year we'll be below 1%. If we look at the unemployment rate, it's definitely moved up. If we look at government finance, it's deteriorated. So when you've got a challenging economic environment, it tells you that you have to look harder to find the investment opportunities.
Kevin Links, chief economist at Stanlib, says in order for the country to tap into its real growth potential, South Africans need to invest differently.
What are some of those alternatives? It would be investing in government bonds. Now, in this country, when you mention government bonds, people get a bit nervous because the government is significantly more in debt. The state-owned enterprises need more funding. Our credit rating has come down. So that in itself sounds like it's not an ideal investment opportunity. But consider this. The return that you get in from government bonds sits at around about 8.5% to 9%. And what the risk you're taking is that the government decides that it's not going to honor its debt. I would say the probability of that happening is incredibly low. So the key assets you want to focus on besides the equity market is really looking at a range of credit instruments. You can also look at things like corporate bonds. So where corporates are looking to borrow money, they borrow some of that money in the bond market. And it turns out that that money is very safe. In other words, the corporate is going to repay the debt and the return that you get on that instrument is significant.
New research by New York-based analytics group Real Capital shows that South Africa's listed and private property companies are taking billions offshore in the face of poor economic growth. Kundai Munzara, portfolio manager at Sesfikile, says the South African listed property sector is offering vast investment opportunities, even though there's proof of offshore activities.
The South African listed property sector, if you look back over the last 10 years, has actually had a really good run. Between 2009 and about 2015 or 16, returns were in the order of 18.3% per annum. So at this point, the property sector, South African listed property sector, gives investors or offers investors a forward yield of 9.2% with around 3 to 4% distribution growth, and that's earnings growth.
For Newsroom Africa on Channel 405, I am Wandiswan Dengendo in Johannesburg.